is September 15, 2021, and it's another episode of Manila Standard on the Road. Right beside me over there is my co-host, Miss Dana Uson. Dana, good evening.
Hey Milo, good evening. How are you doing on this beautiful eve of the 15th of September?
Everything's fine, Dana. I think the weather is much better compared to last week and the days prior to that. Looks like we have an interesting episode for us tonight. Not only because there's better weather outside, but just the topic itself. Our guests for tonight at that would provide us with some exhilarating updates for all petrol heads out there.
I know, an emphasis on the S, Milo. We've got two guests for tonight, and I think both of which have very interesting stories that they take with them, no?
Exactly, especially for those who are fans of motorsports. I know, Dana, most of our previous episodes have been focusing on public service and mobility. Ngayon, balik naman tayo ng motorsports, which is pretty much a sport loved by so many car lovers out there. We actually have two guests, Dana, as you mentioned, and they are not just making waves in the field of motorsports here in the country, but actually they're making waves abroad. They're making waves outside of the country, doing very well, and I'm sure a lot of us right now are more than excited to know about what's going on with them right at this very moment.
Yeah, for sure. And Milo, you used to be in motorsport yourself, but you still are, right? So you would know firsthand how much how much work these two must have put in, right, to get to the level that they're at today.
Oh, definitely the discipline at that, and it's so nice that we would listen to their stories and how they actually dedicate their days to make the things they want to happen. Diba? And of course, the love of the sport itself is on top of that. If you don't love what you're doing, then what's the point of doing it, diba?
As with anything, right? Yes naman, may life advice tayo.
Well, ayun nga. So, ladies and gentlemen, be ready for a petrol heads experience. But before anything else, speaking of petrol, we have some news all the way from our sources in Manila Standard. Starting off with some pretty bad news in terms of petrol. We have oil prices rising to about 0.50 pesos or 50 centavos per liter this week. Now, consumers can expect another round of oil price hikes this week of as much as 50 cents per liter, reflecting three consecutive weeks of price increases in the world market. Now, Oil Petroleum Philippines announced over the weekend that fuel prices are expected to go up from September 14 to 20 to reflect the movement of prices in the world oil market. Diesel will also increase by 30 centavos to 40 centavos per liter, while gasoline will increase by 40 cents to 50 cents per liter, according to Oil during its weekly advisory. Now, oil prices went up due to supply tightness owing to Hurricane Ida in the United States. So, ayan. Kung kailan man, September 14 to 20, gas up na bago pa tumaas pa ang mga prices. May oras pa naman ata ngayon. Ay, hindi na. Wala na pala, September 15.
Wala na, Milo. Implemented na.
Sorry. Wala na po.
But it's sad though. Parang we got so used to the price rollbacks na suddenly ngayon paakit na naman yung presyo ng gas.
Totoo. It's a flip-floppy trend, so to speak. And minsan parang stock market lang yan. Timing yung mga tao kailan magpapagasolina. And minsan minamahal.
I know. And you have to think about the global demand supply, right?
Exactly. And some would even gas up late at night before the clock strikes 12 just to make it in time.
Just to get that price before
Even
before the hike.
Even the smallest centavo
Yeah.
they can mean a lot if you compile them with it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been such a difficult period and I'm sure that any cent you can save means a lot to many of our countrymen, right? But thanks, Marla, for that. We've got a little bit of news also for those that don't drive their own cars, and for our viewers out there who regularly commute. A newly acquired train set from South Korea was brought to Tandang Sora in Quezon City last Saturday for the MRT7 project. According to San Miguel Corporation, which is responsible for building the train line, the train sets arrived at the Port of Manila from South Korea last September 6th. So it's been here for a little over a week now. Once the MRT 7 upgrade is finished, it's expected to cut travel time from North Avenue, Quezon City to San Jose del Monte in Bulacan to only 35 minutes from the current 2 to 3 hours it takes to traverse the same route. Milo, that's incredible. A 2 to 3 hour journey down to only 35 minutes. And
That,
I know it's taken so long for the train units to arrive here, but I can't help but just look forward to the kind of improvement that this will bring, right? Especially to our friends who are always traveling back and forth from the north to the city center here in Metro Manila.
I mean, I don't really ride trains that much or used to ride trains that much, even prior to COVID. But hearing this news itself, that drastic drop in travel time, that's huge. And I'm very excited to hear this. And hopefully, once it's all operational, our countrymen would reap its benefits big time. Diba?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, why even take a car, right? If it takes you half an hour to get from Bulacan to Metro Manila, you
Exactly.
might
Plus,
even ditch the car
the trains look
completely.
much beautiful na rin naman eh. So aesthetically,
I,
must be more comforting for us yung mga namamasada dyan na nagtitake ng train araw-araw to feel more comfortable as they ride their trains to work or to wherever they need to be, di ba?
I know. And for what it's worth, it's more maluwag now because you have to comply with social distancing requirements.
So I guess
So
it's a
none of the sardinas type of siksikan in the train.
great, great news to hear that, Dana, and thank you so much. And for our last bit of news for this week, we have Hyundai, the Korean car manufacturer, celebrates 20 years here in the Philippines. Now, Hyundai, one of the leading automotive manufacturers, as we all know, is celebrating its 20th year here in the country. Now, as part of their celebration, it has launched its Hyundai Move, MOVE, or Mobility Virtual Experience that will allow its staff to engage with Hyundai vehicle owners virtually. Now, participants may enjoy fun activities and raffles prepared by Hyundai. And for more information, you can go to Hyundai's website and social media channels to learn more about this 20th anniversary spree. Yeah. So, do you own a Hyundai? My family used to own a Hyundai back then.
Well, my family does own a Hyundai. It's a very trusty Starex.
Ah,
Lugs
yes.
the entire family and our luggage to wherever we need to get.
I would say the Starex somehow was an Innova of back then. Like almost a lot
I
of
know.
families had Starexes, diba? Our family used to
It,
have
it's a very dad car also, like let me just drive my Starex, pick up the kids.
yeah, typical football mom, football dad's car. Eh. Kung saan mo pwede dalhin susundo, diba? Maluwag,
Kasama na buong barkada, di ba? Kasya naman sila sa kotse.
barkada, usually lalagyan pa ng TV yung likod. But,
Ay,
but obviously,
exactly.
Hyundai is known for more than just Starex. They have a huge line of great vehicles, and we congratulate them for making it 20 great years of at least being here in the Philippines, diba?
For
All
sure.
right, so
And
go ahead.
no, go ahead, Milo.
Anyways, that
One of those moments.
is for tonight, September 15, 2021. We shall not take things any longer. After this quick break, we shall be talking to our first guest when it comes to the news on motorsports. So medyo news related din siya, pero at least yung magbabalita sa atin, yung guest
Siya
natin
mismo. Oo
siya
nga eh,
mismo.
siya mismo.
Right
Para
after
mas
this,
exciting.
makikilala na natin siya right after this break. Stick around, guys. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are still tuning in to Manila Standard on the Road. It's still your host, Miss Dana Uson, and yours truly, Milo Rivera. And as mentioned a while ago, our episode is going to be very, very interesting, lalo na if you are a fan of motorsports, more so Philippine motorsports at that, diba, Dana?
I know, and Milo, this is a topic that I'm sure is very, very close to your heart.
Oh, definitely, Dana. And the funny part is, I don't even remember the last time our show had a motorsports related episode. I know you've been here for a few episodes only, but even I myself can't even remember when it was na nagkaroon kami ng motorsports related episode. Pero I'm very much excited to go through this episode and have our first guest at that, di ba? Mukhang ano pa, very interesting pa yung story niya kasi she's on her way to France as I think was, if I'm not mistaken, and all over Italy, hopefully, if she makes it through into the competition more and more. And we're very, very excited to listen to her story and also listen to what we have to look forward to as she leaves the country early next month. Now, she is the sole Asian representative in the upcoming FIA Girls on Track program. She is also a karting champion, an international go-kart racing champion, and national at that. Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest for tonight is Miss Bianca Bustamante.
Hi.
Hi, Bianca. Good evening.
Hi,
How are
Bob.
you
Thanks
doing?
for having me. I'm
Well,
doing great.
this is your second time on our show, and now you're back, and a lot of other things have happened from that point till today, and we're very excited to have you again. And siguro from all of us here in Manila Standard, congratulations, Bianca.
Thank you po.
Yeah, and Bianca, for all of those such as myself who might not have been here the first time you were in Manila Standard on the road, maybe could you tell us a little bit about how long you've been racing and how you got started?
I actually started driving a kart at the age of 3, and I first joined a national series here in the Philippines at the age of 5. And ever since then, I've just been driving and accumulating experience from all over the world. And I was crowned the Asian go-karting champion and also the driver of the year. And I've competed all over the world and outside of Asia and in Asia. Now I'm given a chance to compete as well in Europe.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible, Bianca. And from driving at 3 to where you are today, Milo, my goodness, at 3 years old, I think the only thing that I drove was a bump cart. So I can't imagine the journey that you must have gone through, Bianca.
Oh,
It's very tough.
me, Data, I started racing when I was 12, and I thought that was too
Wow.
young in itself already. But hearing Bianca's story and pretty much a lot of other stories in the world of motorsports, starting at a very young age, hands down, I'm out. I'm out.
You're lolo na raw in the sport,
Lolo
Milo.
na. Kita naman dito eh. Kita naman sa official. Lolo na ako eh.
Oh my goodness. Bianca, like knowing that alone, you're 16, is that right? It's
Yes.
incredible how you have such a long, long journey ahead of you. And so, Bianca, before we get into the program that you're joining next month, I guess maybe just a little bit about how you've spent the last 2 years. No, I mean the COVID-19 pandemic has just made it so difficult for everybody to move, and motorsport, I can imagine, is no different. What has training been like for you in the last 2 years, and what?
It was very difficult because it's not like other sports where you can get a ball and start practicing. With motorsport, there's a lot of factors to just drive around the track. You need the car, you need the track, you need a lot of crew, and that just to get all of that in the same place was very tough with the travel restrictions. And honestly, at first I was kind of losing a bit of hope because like the cases were rising up and we were in continuous lockdown. But we still managed to find ways to get to the track and drive what we could. And even with karting, there were still a lot of races ongoing here in the Philippines, and we were still competing. And just during the times where we were in easy queue, I just tried to stay fit because not driving for a long time and just laying down in the bed makes you lose all the muscles you've been building up. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing.
All right, you're gonna need to share with us your workout routine. I think Milo and I are gonna need some of that.
Nah, not you, Data. I know you, Data. Stop lying. I think it's part of me. But yun nga, Bianca, you mentioned a while ago how old you started or how young you started. Was it love at first sight? Was it motorsports at first sight or at first feel? Or like any other girl growing up at that age, there were other things as well.
Well, I think because of my dad was a carter, so everything in the house or everything they were talking about during dinner, it was just racing related. And eventually I picked it up as well on my own, and I showed interest for it since I was very young. And I would beg my dad to bring me to the track so just I could experience it and watch him and gain experience. And then my dad kind of saw that I shared the same passion as him, so he was very supportive. He got me a cart at the age of 3 after finally convincing him. And at first they were very scared because it's not a very safe sport, especially for a 3-year-old.
Exactly, and so many risks and dangers at that with the sport itself. But was it easy for you to be convinced to be, serious with the sport, or did you convince your parents, or your parents convince you, or was it just diving from the very beginning?
At first, I think it was convincing my mom because my dad just supported me all the way.
Yeah.
And after my mom agreed, we were like, okay, we get her to drive, but no competing yet. And then eventually, I reached the age 6, and there we had to convince her again to let me race. And then she's been very supportive ever since.
That's good.
It's
That's good.
it's always the mom, no? That's
Yeah,
difficult to convince. Uh,
the only girl in the family, kaya she's very strict.
oh my gosh. And actually at that, Bianca, you're competing in a sport that is traditionally a male sport, And as a young woman in a traditionally male sport, I'm sure that you're serving as an icon for so many young girls out there that are potentially looking to get into motorsport as well. Um, what has the journey been like for you as a woman in the sport? Has it been difficult at all in any way?
Very. I mean, at first, physically, just when you look at it, driving, it looks very tough. It's steering the wheel. It's actually very heavy. It doesn't have the power steering compared to normal cars, and just that, and also because it's very expensive. Motorsport is very, very expensive, and getting the funds, it's very tough. And also driving with other males, it's very competitive. Sometimes they won't let me win or let me pass, and it would reach to an accident. But I always think that in the end we're all athletes. Racing is the only sport where there's no actually boundaries to male and women. We're all competing in the same track and in the same race, so the car is kind of the equalizer. So I think of it as just a normal sport and where we could all compete.
I really like your mindset there, Bianca. Now, it's not gender is not going to be an issue when it
Yeah,
comes to
it
motorsports
shouldn't
or
it
any
shouldn't it
sport at
shouldn't
that. Diba? So, given that, who would you say is your inspiration, or who would you say is your role model, idol, or someone you'd look up to when it came to motorsports? Was it your dad, or just between the three of us? Di naman ata manonood dad, but someone else, diba?
Well, definitely my dad, because we weren't very rich and it's expensive, so he would work very, very hard just to get me to racing. And but in the racing part, I think one of my idols is definitely Niki Lauda because of his accident, and even then he wouldn't give up, so I shouldn't give up as well.
No, that's fantastic, and I'm sure like you heading to France makes your dad so 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 proud of where you are
Very.
today, after all that hard work. And on that note, Bianca, tell us about the program that you're joining. So the Girls on Track Rising Stars program. How did you manage to earn a spot?
So the Girls on Track program was an initiative by the Women in Motorsport. So it's basically just this program where they try to harness young females that's in the sport to try try and grow them so they can compete or have the chance to race in big races like the Formula 4. Getting a seat in the Formula 4 is not very easy. It's not very mundane. So they made this initiative and this shootout, so everyone from all over the world gets to pick their representative. So basically they get 70 drivers, and then they just cut down their profile and CV to 14, and then the 14 gets to go to France. It's very gets to go to France and experience karting and then training under intense pressure from the FIA. And so we just go there to learn, and then usually they cut down from 14 to 8, and then the 8 gets to drive the Formula car in Paul Ricard, which is the track where the F1 drivers race in. And then after that, they cut down again from 8 to 4, and then the 4 driver gets to go to Italy to train under Ferrari.
Oh my goodness. And I mean,
Wow, that's like
Milo,
that's
Bianca,
programming.
hindi lang siya, yeah, and I mean, hindi lang siya pagandahan ng CV, diba? Like, you actually need to
Yeah,
have
you need to
wins
have
under your
credentials.
belt.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
so drive,
So,
you go.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, Milo, Bianca, you're probably really driving with the best of the best in your age, from around the world, which
Yeah,
must be exciting, for you.
yes,
and
because
I
definitely I know that.
go ahead.
Because I definitely know that I'll learn a lot, because there's a lot more to learn. I'm still growing and then gaining experience. So even if I don't get into the top 4 and stuff, or something happens, I know that it was a great experience, and I'll always look at it as a curve in my growth. And from
Yeah,
then on, I just hope to move on.
yeah, and I know, or like you've mentioned the racing aspect of it, the driving aspect of it, but not a lot of people know that the program also involves other things that make the whole package of being a race car driver. So you have your fitness training, you have um, psychological training as well. It's pretty
Yeah,
much the whole thing, right,
yeah,
Bianca?
the whole package.
The whole package. Diba?
Yeah,
About
so
for me, I was also part of an FIA program back then when it was called the Young Drivers Development Program, and I almost made it to the finals, almost lang, but I'm too old for that already. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Um, Tura, my next question for you is, how do you prepare for something like this? It's not just driving, or
no.
even in any kind of preparation for racing. It's not just driving to win. It's everything else that comes along with it. What can you say are your secrets, or any open secrets at that, you would want to share with us tonight on how you prepare and how you become successful as you are?
Actually, one of my secret is I sleep around 7 p.m. So
Oh my goodness,
now
this
You're
is
I
past
past
your
your bedtime.
bedtime.
You're
it's
past
past
your
This
my
is
bedtime.
bedtime.
past your
Yes, that's why
bedtime.
backstage I was yawning a little bit. And then I usually wake up 4 a.m. to go for a run for an hour, and then I hit the gym for 3 hours and just train endurance, cardio, and CrossFit, and then weightlifting to gain up my muscles. And then from then on, I just come home and study the track or wherever I will be racing in. And I think also the main thing is your mentality, because most of the time that's what hinders us from achieving what we want to achieve. And in racing, you always need to work under pressure, so it's always like you're like a machine. You're always moving and moving, and you need to think on your feet, because usually when driving, everything happens way too fast, and you need fast reactions. And if you're trying to avoid a crash, for example, you need to have this hand and eye coordination where it's everything's quick. You can't black out.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible, Bianca. And you see some of it on TV, right? Like the kind of exercises that drivers actually do. And as you said, a lot of it is your non-traditional fitness training, right? Like coordination. You're almost like whack-a-mole who can whack it the fastest. Um, but again, it's a fantastic sport in its own right. And as you think about that, Bianca, like your day to day today, is that something that you see yourself doing for a very long time? Like, I guess, what is the big dream for you?
Well, I think a bit for now, a bit naive to say, but definitely Formula One. Like for now, there's no current female Formula One driver, and to make it there is definitely a dream come true. So yes, I plan on seeing myself working on this, building my craft till I do reach my dreams.
I mean, girl, you just gotta claim it. And I was telling you this backstage, right? Just shout it out to the universe and claim it. And today there is no female driver in F1. I mean, there's the W Series, but who is to say you can't be driving in F1, right?
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, do you have like a favorite team among the F1 teams that you would
Well,
just
I,
love
I
to
think
drive
a
for?
bit biased since I'll be shooting out for the Ferrari Academy, but definitely I'm a huge fan of Ferrari.
I mean,
I'm
as they
a
say, right?
diehard
Like if
fan.
you, I mean, well, I can tell you're wearing red now that you mentioned it. So
Yes,
I can see the tifosi in you.
definitely
But I mean,
after
it's
the
no
Monza race.
surprise. I know, and it's no surprise, right? Like if you ask a kid to draw a race car, as they say, they'll draw it in red. Like Ferrari
Yeah.
has just been
So like even after
iconic.
when I saw the car, I'm pretty sure I didn't even know it was called Ferrari yet, but I knew it's like, oh, that's my team.
Wow. And you're so lucky, diba? Like, it's going to be supported by the Ferrari Driving Academy, the program for women on track. And yun nga, parang it's so poetic for you, Bianca, na sa lahat pa, hopefully you make it that far, that will be driving um, in association with Ferrari, your favorite team. I'm a Ferrari fan, but hindi sila
Yay.
ganun from this city.
Yeah. It's not there here, and it hasn't been for a few couple of years.
I don't want to tell the people on the show right now what team or driver I'm rooting for, especially with how hot it has been for the last 40
The
or for the last
competition, yes. Oh God.
previous days. So I'll keep it at that. I'll keep my mouth shut for now.
No, but that's what makes it more exciting, right? Like
The
this kind of
fans, it's the
action.
emotions and stuff. It's so big.
Exactly. Well, Bianca, from all of us here, we would want to congratulate you in advance and
Thank you
wishing you
so
all the
much.
best. And hopefully, we get to have you on our show in a few weeks or few months' time just to hear your story. Successful at that for sure. And we're counting on it. But before we end this interview with you, would you like to thank anybody or like shout out to anyone? This is your platform
Well,
right now.
yes. I would like, of course, to thank my parents because if they hadn't saw, if because they were the first few people that saw the talent in me. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here now. And I'd like to thank Ferrari Driver Academy for this amazing opportunity, and the Women in Motorsport for creating this program, and Iron Dames and Iron Links, and Pirelli Motorsport, OMP Motorsport, and Kart and Praga Kart and 321 Perform. And of course, I'd like to thank my team here in the Philippines that have been coaching me, helping me. My coach, Elson Carpio, and Sky Zoo for all the help. And of course, Daryl Oyang from the CBR Media. My manager, thank you so much for working very, very hard with me, making this possible. And thank God for given this opportunity to it's a dream come true.
My gosh,
Galing.
Bianca, and it really takes a village to build a champion, And count me and
Yes.
Milo as one of your fans. We are rooting for you, and all the best next month,
Thank you
Bianca.
so much.
Thank you so much, Bianca, for joining our episode tonight. And like we mentioned just a while ago, we wish you all the best. Now, for our next guest, we shall be having champion Formula 4 driver Eduardo Coseten. He'll be joining our show just a bit. But before anything else, we have a quick break. So stay tuned. We'll be back once again. Bye, Bianca. Welcome back to Manila Standard on the Road. This is still your motorsports special for this weekend. And now we have another guest in line right now from one champion to another. Our second and final guest for this week is no stranger to what it means to be winning, not just here in the Philippines, but also abroad. He is also an international karting champion, and he is currently a rookie in the Formula 4 British Championship and is making waves as we speak. Our final guest for tonight is our returning guest also, Mr. Eduardo Cositeng. Eduardo, good evening or good afternoon as it is right now in the UK.
Hi, Milo. Yeah,
Yeah,
good afternoon.
it's late night here in the Philippines, and I see
Yeah,
it's like 7 hours behind over there, but it's all good. Thank you so much for joining us again. And for those who were able to watch the episode when we had Eduardo back then, he was still testing out for teams as an update. He is now currently racing in the Formula 4 British Championship right now. And I think how many races are you guys are into already?
I think we've done almost more than half, so probably like 7, 6 races already.
And how has it been so far?
Yeah, it's pretty good actually. Been learning a lot of new stuff throughout every race. So yeah,
Well, you are a rookie, as I mentioned a while ago, and I'm pretty sure you're not the only rookie who's part of this championship. But nevertheless, you are the lone Filipino, and that itself is an achievement. I remember months ago when the news of you joining the championship was making waves around the country over here, and you've pretty much lived up to the expectation of delivering. And siguro you're there, and a lot of people or a lot of your fans are based in the Philippines. For you are Filipino. Um, how does it feel to have that pressure somehow from overseas, or is there really any pressure at all, or you're just doing your thing?
I mean, I wouldn't really call it pressure. I think I'd rather take it as like a motivation because
Yeah.
being the only Filipino from a small group of the racing community back at home, I think to be in one of the European levels is quite a big achievement. And yeah, that motivates me to do even better.
Yeah. So you are racing for a team called Argenti Motorsport. Am I saying it correctly, or
Yeah,
Argenti?
Argenti.
Argenti. All right,
Yeah.
cool. How did it come about? Like, what did you see in the team, or what did they see in you? Out of all the teams you were testing, what made you feel that this was the team that could bring you success on your lone or first year in this championship at that?
Um, yeah, I did test with 3 teams in the preseason, and the reason why I picked Argenti over the other teams I tested with is because just the how professional they are with everything. Like some teams just think of it as it's just F4, and
Yeah.
like F3 and above should be more serious. But that's just a mentality. I think you should be really professional since the starting step into Formula cars. And yeah,
Yeah.
they're really a tidy team and they work really hard. So that's why I picked Argenti.
Mhm. So, for a lot of the viewers and listeners of this show, obviously, when we talk about motorsports, Formula One is pretty much top of mind. But not a lot of people know that there are levels below that, Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, and so on, that serve as stepping stones for you to reach the pinnacle, if ever you are lucky and or blessed enough to do so. Siguro for the benefit of those, like I said, are watching right now, what would you say is the importance of racing Formula 4 at your age?
Yeah, I mean, because usually when you go from Formula 4, usually people start from karting, which you don't really go that fast. I think you need to have like a really basic step from karting to cars
Yeah,
because of the speed, the G-force, all the grip and everything to understand the basics first. Because if you put a karting driver from a kart to a Formula 3, everything might just be like overwhelming, like the speed and everything they have to take into. So I think, yeah, a really basic, slower car of a Formula One basically is much needed for a younger driver.
and aside from the speed, what else can you learn? Like, obviously in karting, being it, pretty much the foundation of young drivers who want to make it serious. what else do you think is something worth developing at a lower level, whether it's karting or something after karting, or where you are Formula 4? What else is there to develop for you to be ready once that opportunity comes to race higher levels of that?
I think if not just the speed, maybe tire management in race runs, like how you use your tires. Like if it's qualifying, you're going 100%, even though it might mess up the tire in a 20 lap run, but in 3 laps you'll have the fastest time. Or in the race run where you have, let's say in F4, you have 20 minutes and you have to kind of conserve your tires to have less scrub. So that's probably one of the skills that's really important in F4 from karting at least.
Mhm. Well, yun nga, I guess for the benefit of our viewers right now who are not so familiar with the tires you guys or we use, like full slicks at that, diba? Like
Yeah.
we're so used to tires here with that, street tires with the treads and all, diba? And
Yeah.
once you reach a certain level or a certain amount of motorsports advancement, you come um, close to a slick tire. And tell me, Eduardo, I guess you and I know both know how it is to drive with slick tires, but I guess I wanted to come from you. How does it feel to drive a slick tire? Is it just like a pure explanation? Oh, it gives you more grip. But what else is there when you're driving a full slick tire? And I think we should show a picture of that eventually for the viewers to see.
I mean, yeah, obviously there'll be more grip. You'll carry like a lot more speed on the corners, which is fun. Is a really big difference from a full slick tire to a semi-slick or a wet tire in the dry at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, but when it comes to wet in a slick tire, it's like you're on ice. It's not as grippy as it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, because I think a lot of the people, if ever they see a slick tire who aren't so familiar with the tire, sasabihin, ah,
Yeah.
pudpud na yan, kalbo
Yeah.
na yan. Diba?
Yeah, you
Diba?
have to change the tire.
They have to change the tire, right? So,
Yeah.
but for race car drivers like you or us, diba, you know what a slick tire is, and
Yeah.
it's just so funny when, like in the Philippines, of course, when you move up to cars, we don't really use slick tires as much as
Yeah.
compared to over there. But yeah, moving on. Um, what would you say would be your biggest takeaway so far this season, given that you're pretty much halfway through? Am I right?
Yeah. What do you
Mhm.
mean by takeaway exactly?
What would you say is your biggest learning so far? The season isn't over yet, um,
Yeah.
and you've had so much success already, podiums left and right for those who aren't updated. What would you say is your biggest learning so far, or biggest thing that you would want to look forward to before the season ends?
Biggest learning so far. I mean, maybe like the adaptability to the weather, because British weather is always cold or sometimes sunny, sometimes it's raining. So I mean, I think the weather affects the car a lot. So I think yeah, my biggest learning was the adaptability for me in the car, because I used to drive in the preseason. I had like one driving style through that certain weather. Then I come back to the same track maybe the next week and the weather's different and I'll be slow again. So I kind of had to learn like how to drive the track rather than just having one driving style to do.
Hmm. Hmm. And I guess also for those who are very interested in knowing more about your standings right now, how has the season been so far in general? Talk about best race finish, average race finish, current position in the points with how many races to go. This is your time to be a little bit more mayabang, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, it's been up and down so far. Like as a rookie, I've made a lot of mistakes due to just not knowing what to do because of the inexperience, rather than some second year drivers. I mean, so far the pace has been there. I mean, in qualifying we're usually always in the top three, top five, and then the races sometimes always up and down because as a rookie it's always hard to get everything perfect. With the racecraft, with the race pace and everything. So yeah, I am at fault of some of those race results that I didn't do so well. But yeah, it's been a good year so far. I learned a lot of things. In the points, we haven't scored a lot of points really because we always have the potential, or we're almost there, like at the like in top three or top two, and then something goes wrong where maybe I don't conserve my tires too well, or I'll get in a crash that was my fault that a second year driver wouldn't have. But yeah, so far so good. I think I'm like about around 10th in the championship.
So we've been talking about you racing in the British Championship for Formula 4, which obviously implies you've been racing around tracks or racetracks at that in the UK, definitely. What would you say is like your favorite racetrack out of all you've raced in so far?
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks in the calendar in the UK. I enjoy them a lot, like most of them, but it's really hard to pick one. I mean, probably Brands Hatch, Brands GP. It's a pretty fun track. I mean, the when you go around Brands, it's the barriers are quite tight to the road, so you have to be very clinical with your steering inputs. You can't really afford to make a mistake, or you probably end up inside the barriers and damage your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the character and flow to the track is actually really nice. I mean, it's a lot of angulation, like up and down, like the bankings of the turns. Like if you turn one, it's like a reverse Eau Rouge. Instead of
Yeah.
going up, it kind of goes down, but you only turn right. And yeah, you go on a track walk, and you're literally trying to go backwards so you don't fall into the hill. It's like a roller coaster. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, turn one of Brands Hatch is a killer. Obviously, a lot of
Yeah,
people have been playing it on video games, and
yeah,
just trying to get yourself into turn one cleanly and perfectly at that is a struggle. And what more if it's actually right there, like
yeah,
right there where what you're
yeah,
doing now, right? So,
yeah.
and obviously, some of our viewers and listeners here are F1 fans at that. Have you ever raced in Silverstone?
Yeah, we do race in Silverstone, but it's not the long track. It's the shorter track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. All right. So leads me to my final question. After this season, regardless of what you finish, or maybe depending on how you finish the championship, what's next for Eduardo Coseten come 2022 and beyond?
I think our goal probably for next season is not to rush things. I think we'll probably do F4 again. I don't think
Yeah.
we need to make the jump to F3 just yet. I think we need to learn as much as we can in F4 and probably win by the end of next year. And then yeah, after that probably F3. So yeah.
A sure path to success at that, slowly yet surely.
Yeah.
Eduardo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's
Yeah.
such a pleasure to talk to you again and to listen to how it's been for you. And obviously, from all of us here in the Philippines, all we could do is wish you the best and look forward to more success with you over there or wherever you will end up racing pa. So again, Eduardo, any last words to your fans, to your family, anybody you want to greet, anybody you want to thank? This is your opportunity right now.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, of course, for having me. It's been an honor. It's been really fun. Yeah. I'd really like to thank my parents, first of all, obviously, for the all the support they've given me since I was young, and Petron and Autoplus for helping me since I was young again with financial support. And yeah, and all the other fans cheering me on who are from the Philippines. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, well, I guess I want to talk about it a little bit more. Like you just thanked your parents, but your parents are not with you right now. How does it feel? Out of curiosity, how does it feel living alone, racing alone, pretty much most of the time? Your family, most of your family is back home in the Philippines. I know your mom's there, but not actually living under the same roof. So how does it
Yeah.
feel? Like is being alone and being in a new territory. I know you're used to it, but is there still a feeling of being homesick somehow?
I mean, at first you kind of enjoy it because you have the freedom. You're more independent. But after a while, you do tend to miss, like, I do tend to miss my parents a lot. Like I'm homesick to go back to the Philippines and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, obviously, one of these days you will spend some vacation time here in the Philippines, and we look forward
yeah,
to probably you saying hi to your fans wherever they may be here in the country.
yeah.
Nonetheless, Eduardo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you again. Um, Hopefully, telling us about how success has been much greater than what it already is right now. All right. Thank you so
Cool.
much, Eduardo.
Thank you so much too. See ya.
Great. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes another episode of Manila Standard on the Road. This motorsports special at that. We would like to thank our guests for tonight and everybody who watched and tuned in to this very exhilarating episode at that. Don't forget to always use the Manila Standard hashtag, which is MS on the road, hashtag MS on the road at that. And don't forget to always like, comment, and share anything Manila Standard on the road and Manila Standard in general. We look forward to seeing you once again for a great episode next week. But for now, it's time to say goodbye and good night at that. So please do take care. And on behalf of everybody on this show, this is Milo Rivera saying good night and always, always, always be safe on the road.